Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Nick with Draftbit. I'm joined today by George, also from Draftbit. What's up, George?
Hello, not much. How you doing?
Really good. It's Friday.
It is Friday. I'm so excited to be in the office hour. I think I've been like a 5 minute times like once in the office hour, but I haven't had like a full-on office hour with you, so it's exciting.
Well, we're going to throw you directly into the fire today.
Good.
For those of you who aren't aware, today is the George Show. Today, the topic of office hours is the provocative question: can you build real apps with Draftbit? Why is this the provocative question? Well, we get asked this a lot, like give us examples of apps that are built in Draftbit. And I think periodically throughout this office hour, especially when George is talking, I'm going to drop some links into the chat of like case studies that folks have written about things they've built with Draftbit. Draftbit's a really powerful tool. Draftbit can do a lot of things. A lot of our users are not using Draftbit to publish to the App Store. Maybe they're using Draftbit to export components and use them in their apps, using Draftbit in a variety of different ways. But at the end of the day, we know that you all are interested in seeing, what is the power of Draftbit? Can I build my idea in Draftbit? We get asked that a lot. And so today, what George is going to do, George has been working on building some. They're not done yet, so we're going to hedge there, but have gotten really far with a couple of apps that he's built. And so he's going to kind of show you those apps, talk about them, talk about what has not been built yet, what he's working on. And I think if there's time, George, we may even try to build some things. Is that right?
Yeah, we can try. Do it live. Let's see where it
Do it live.
us.
Awesome. All right. So, George, I'm actually just going to kick it off to you. And thanks everyone for, we got an active YouTube channel this morning. So what's up, Sean?
Nice.
Mark,
Hello.
what's up, Mark?
Nice.
Hey, Colin, what's going on?
Oh, that's pretty cool. You can show up people on the thing. Oh, nice.
Tim, what's happening? Oh, what's up, Prakash? We got Prakash from Xano joining us.
Yeah,
Janet, Prakash, I told Prakash that you're going to be showing some Xano stuff. So
that's cool.
Don't let him down.
No, well, I was gonna say I'm so excited to talk about Xano a little bit, maybe a little bit later, if only because like I've spent the last few days really playing with it, and it's been amazing. Like honestly, I'm just kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but like there are like little things that might have been a little trickier to do with just a pure and simple like REST API endpoint, and with Xano I was able to like tailor the API endpoint specifically for my need. And so anyway, it's been a very good experience. I'm excited that some of the team members are here and we can show a little bit more of what we've done there.
Awesome.
All right, should I just get us going? So I've got some notes here to make sure I stay on point. All right, so as Nick mentioned, we do a lot of like
testing. What's up, Alan?
Hello.
Hello.
Alan's here for moral support. Alan,
nice.
We're joined by senior engineer Alan Nelson. What's up, man?
Not too much, just hanging out.
We should have the whole team just coming up.
Don't please, if the team is, I know the team is watching. Please don't all join us.
All right. So as I was saying, we ooh, look at that. Bonjour de Montréal. Thank you guys. A little French community coming up. So yeah, we spent a lot of time testing specific feature, but today I wanted to kind of put aside the feature per feature kind of aspect of Draftbit and think a bit more holistically. So there has been specifically two projects that I want to talk and show today. The first one is one I worked on last week, and it's actually like, you want to like, dog food your own product, and then I feel like there's a level above that when you try to not create an application yourself, but try to recreate someone else's application, because that kind of forces you to think of like, to not have too many biases of like, oh, I really want this, but I'm going to do it this way because I know how to do it and it's simpler and all that. So when you try to recreate someone else's app, it forces you to really think like, how would someone who does not know about the capability of Draftbit do it? So that's what I did last week. I took an existing app, and I'll show it. Maybe I can share my screen, do it so it's a little bit more visual for folks. So there is this. Oh, can you guys see my screen? Nick, you might have to put it on the feed. All right,
I got
excellent. All right, so this is in French, but don't worry. First of all, you don't have to understand what it says. I'll tell you quickly. And then the second app I'm going to talk about is in English. So don't worry too much about that. So this is essentially just a vintage marketplace. So it's pretty straightforward, which is kind of the point, like something that like people might do on Draftbit. So I'll show you a little bit what it looks like. If a little cheat code here, if you look at it in like a responsive website, you can see what it looks like. So this is an app. Let me check. Everybody can see. All right, cool. So you got a list of stuff. Vintage, very nice and sleek objects like clothes, chairs, toys, LP, anything like that. And then you can browse by category. So if I only want to do furniture and then only desk, well, I guess there's nothing. It's only like demo data right now. Even for that, this is not what I built, by the way. This is the app as it was built by someone else. So browse by category, and then it's like browse by subcategory. It's pretty straightforward. You can filter, which is actually very cool. I need to create an account for that. I'm going to keep this part of the demo very quick because you don't need to see it all. But authentication, browsing information, and then when you click on one, you can see a detailed view. That's about it. I was like, all right, let's do a little experiment. Last week, I did a live stream every morning of last week. Was it last week or the week before? Anyway, 1 hour a day. So it's essentially 5+ hours of using Draftbit and see how far we can go. I'm going to show you how far I went. Here, this is Draftbit. This is a dashboard. I'm going to go to the personal workspace. I have this app here called Les Puces. That's the name. By the way, puce means flea, I think in English, like flea market. So that's the connection. It's like vintage. So for those who are not as familiar with Draftbit, you got your screens on the left side, and then the list of all your components in the screen, and then everything on the right is like configuration, style, data, interaction, and all of that. So essentially, I was able to do starting off with the item list. So the item list is just going to be a big fetch. I'm going to get the data from somewhere else. Again, for people who are not as familiar with Draftbit, we don't act as a backend. We don't host your data. It's really like you plug to a third-party services. So Airtable, backendless, Xano, obviously, as we're going to talk a little bit more in a few minutes. Firebase, like anything you want, any backend you want. So for this one, I use Airtable. I'll show you quickly what it looks like, just so you get a sense. I'm not going to go through the whole code or anything, but you get a sense of how all the different pieces work together. So this is the table that I have here. A bunch of items, a bunch of categories. I didn't do the subcategory, but it's essentially like just the same thing, one level deeper. Keep in mind, I had like 5+ hours, so I really focused on the top level thing. So simple Airtable base that I was able to, through the data integration that we have, I was able to like connect it and create like endpoints for like items, categories, subcategories, and all that. The one interesting thing, I'm going to get a little bit technical for a sec for people who like that kind of stuff. When you're in a subcategory and you want to query all your items, how to figure out the way Airtable lets you essentially filter your results. So you do it by formula, and you pass it the name of the category. So you're going to say, I want all those items that fit in a specific category. Unfortunately, inside the thing, as the function only takes the category name, which is kind of cool from a no-code point of view. I kind of wish there were an option to give it the ID, because I just feel like the name, might change, or it's not necessarily as robust. If you guys do know a way to use the ID instead, let me know in the chat. That would be kind of cool. But essentially, that's it. So I was able to create all my endpoints. And when you create an endpoint, you can, let me pick one, like gathering all the items. You know, you give it the name, you give it the URL, you give it a header. So of course, for Airtable, I have a Airtable API key that I use. And then you can test it, see if it returns what you want it to return. Here we go. So you have to deal, quick side note again, you have to deal with format that Airtable returns. So, you know, it's a record that is an array, and inside there's a bunch of dictionaries, which is good. Draftbit does a particularly good job at integrating with Airtable, so that's kind of an easy way to get started. One cool thing about Xano is that you actually have a lot of control over over what the API returns. You can extend it with add-ons. You can customize the different fields. So that has been pretty cool. We'll see that a bit later. But anyway, so that's all my endpoints. So going back to my example, at my fetch, you know, I'm going to make it like a scroll view, so I can scroll through that entire page. And then I just went on and built, you know, component per component. So, you know, I got a little like menu icon, I got a refresh on, title, scroll view. This is interesting. I want my category to scroll horizontally. So you can have an horizontal scroll inside a vertical scroll like I did here, because as you can see, like you want that piece to scroll from left to right. So that's kind of cool. You can do that with that scroll view and set it up to horizontal. And then, you know, I did another fetch to get a list of categories. So you can really have like multiple fetch inside your screen. So that's pretty powerful in that sense. And then I have a list, and I have like every item on the list is going to be a big like touchable. It's like something you can tap to go to a detail page. Touchable gives you the option to have like interaction. So here the interaction for my touchable is to go to an item detail page. Pretty straightforward stuff. Of course, I don't know if I mentioned that, but all the information like the location, the price, and all that come from the Airtable base. So you can see what it looks like. For example, the price. We have this way, once you've connected it with the fetch, then you can just see here we have this syntax, like 2 curly brackets, and you can just say, I can even like, can say price. You can name it whatever you want, and then it's gonna ask you to map that variable to whatever you want to whatever data you have in the context of that component. So in my case, I want to map it to the price that I'm getting from Airtable. So you can see now I have 2 prices because I've duplicated it. I'm going to put the euro sign and both just like that. The price. Let's see what else. So we got that list. One thing I did not touch, of course, we have like a specific item page. One cool thing to note about the item page is that you can have kind of the image going all the way to the top of your phone, which is just a very nice. I don't know if you can see here, but it kind of gives you a nice UI in your app instead of having that little header. So that you can do with Draftbit. Of course, all that data is coming from Airtable and it's dummy data. Let's see. One thing that's cool is the ad page. So as a theme of today is, can you build real ads? You can indeed like send information to your Airtable. So that's how you add items. So it's essentially a form that I've been creating. So, you know, you got your name field, price field, location, photo, description, and all of that. And then at the end of it, you can have a little big old add button. And what that does is submit data to an endpoint that you've defined in your data model. So here, if you look at my Airtable, I have this post an item to that endpoint, and so that's what I'm using here, and I'm giving it all the different fields. So that's how I submit data, if you will. And then when it's done, I navigate away back to the list of all the items. Okay, that's a lot of it. There's 2 more things I want to cover on this app. And by the way, Nick or Alan, feel free to interrupt me if either there are questions or if you think it'll be good to explore something else.
Wait,
but
I'm keeping track of questions. I do have like one or two, but keep going and I'll interrupt you when I think it's time.
Cool, excellent. Okay, so two things I want to show again on this app is navigation and authentication. So starting off with navigation. So you have the option to create a tab navigator and a stack navigator in Draftbit. So a tab navigator is going to be the one with the little like tab at the bottom. You go, well, in this example, I'm going to make it very concrete. So if I go back to the main page, you got like home, add, and then like favorite. Again, those require an account, so you're not seeing them. That's what a tab navigator is essentially. And the other one is a stack navigator. So when you just kind of essentially put like cards on top of each other. This is particularly good for like any kind of workflow. If you do like logging workflow, authentication workflow in general. So that's what we did here. We start off with a navigation tab. So that's going to be the one with, if I preview it, you're going to see what the navigation looks like. Give it just a minute to load. And then at the bottom, you'll see you got your home, your add, an item, and your favorite. So that's all covered in this navigation tab. So you can specify like where you want those buttons to go, what icons do you want. Oh, cool little thing while I'm here. For the icon, so when I started off working on this app, the person who made the app originally, who I talked to, obviously, I'm not just kind of copy pasting his app. We communicated about that. He was all on board with that project. But he told me like, oh, it's the feather icon that I've been using for my app. So I started off to go to like feathericon.com or whatever website and try to see, okay, I'm going to figure out a way to import them in Draftbit and all that. And it turns out it's something it's a library we already cover. So we cover a ton of icons. So that's the feather one. So the home icon is already in there, already integrated in Draftbit. So in 2 clicks, I was able to reproduce the exact UI, at least for the icon. So keep in mind that we have that available for you. There is in the second app I'm going to talk about, I've been using a lot of the material community icons who are also really good. So anyway, good thing to know. So that's navigation. And then for each tab, particularly like when you browse, when you're on an item, I want to be able for people who are not logged in to say go to sign up page and login page. So those will happen like stack as opposed to tab. So that's why I got a stack navigator here, browse inside a tab navigator navigations. All right, I'll preview it. I'll show you the result, and hopefully that'll make it a bit more sense. But before we do, there's one last thing I want to touch on this app is authentication. So for this app, I used Firebase Authentication. I can show you. So we've done a lot of videos if you guys are interested about how to integrate with Firebase. Both Firebase, the database, which is called Firestore. So that's the app in your question. So they have the Firestore database, and we also integrate with authentication, the authentication functionality or capability. But right now we do it through custom code. So the database, we do it, it's integrated, it's in UI, so you can do that in full-on no code. If you want the authentication of Firebase, you have to write a little bit of code at the moment. Later on, when I talk about Xano, we'll see how we can do some authentication without having to write code. So, but you see essentially like I've created a bunch of users here. So the way it works is, you're going to want to connect your Firebase account. So you give it a snip, you give it an account file. So we've done tutorial and all, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but connect your Firebase. That's the first thing to do. And then you're able to do, for example, on the sign up screen, when I ask someone to create an account, I ask them for email and password and all that. And when you click sign up button, which is here, a big one, I'm doing a custom function that is called sign up. So now if you go to the custom model, that's where we put all our custom code. And I've got this sign up function that I call when I click sign up the button. So in there, we can have a quick look. not going to go in detail of all the lines, but like essentially at a high level, we get that Firebase object that we've kind of imported. We use the auth on it, and then we have a few methods that we can use. We can create user with email and password. I think there's a sign-in user with email and password. There's a sign-out. So you got your typical like 3 or 4 method that you need to like sign up, log in, log out. And then we say like if it worked out, if everything worked out, if you created a user, we're going to save that user UID in a variable inside Draftbit that is called user ID. I'll say a word about variable in a sec, but for now, I'm saving that in a variable. I'm resetting the logged out variable to nothing because we're not logged out anymore. I've been using that to kind of differentiate the states. I'm resetting the sign up error because we did not get any errors, so all that's going to be blank. And I'm navigating to draw a screen is kind of that. It's my like authentication menu. It's the one that kind of popped up. You see that hamburger icon and it pops up. And so that's the one I'm going back to. If something there has been an error, the user ID is going to be reset to nothing because I don't, essentially we haven't logged you in. The logged out is going to be true, still logged out. And we're going to put the error that we received from Firebase into that sign up error variable. And then we're going to, we're going to sign you out and then throw the error and do all that. So a couple of things to note. Firebase does a pretty decent job at sending you good error messages. So that's why we use them. That's why that variable I'm actually showing on the screen. So if you do something and maybe there's not enough characters or maybe it's already used or whatever your sign up issues might be, we're going to show that error message in red and tell you what's going on. So Firebase does a good job with that. So we leverage that. What was the other thing I was going to mention? Don't remember. Never mind. So I'll say one thing about errors. About variable. We have actually let's show a little demo because it's starting to be a lot of information. So let me go back here. So there are a few ways to preview stuff in Draftbit. The cool one is to use that QR code, scan it on your phone with the Expo Go app. Literally, as you make changes in the builder, you see them reflected on your screen. So like inside the thing here, like what I typically do is I scan the barcode and then I put my phone right next to my laptop and then I make changes and I see what they look like on the device. It doesn't seem much when you say it out loud. Yeah, cool. So Nick was able to scan that QR code. Honestly, that experience to do a change in the builder and have it on your phone right next, like in your physical phone, is pretty magical experience when you do it. The other ways to do previews is obviously here in the builder, we have this little like web preview. So you can see what things are going to look like, what your navigation is going to look like. And we also can publish a PWA. So if you publish, we're going to give you a URL and you'll be able to actually I'll show you what it looks like. That's what the result is going to be. It's going to take a minute or two. Just get a link in your email to go to that page. And that page you can share with anybody, which is awesome. Like if you have collaborators, you want them to like test out the little build, like you can have them play with that. But that's what it looks like. We got a little like, yeah, I'm gonna try and make that a little bit bigger. We got our little like iPhone simulator, or whatever you want to call it. And so this one is the one I've made. So if you remember, this is the original app. Drawer and you click on stuff, and this one in 5+ hours using Draftbit. So I was going to say it's dummy data, but those are actually some of my pictures. So they're not that dummy; those are actual items. And you can select a category. So I'm selecting like light fixtures or clothes, tools. And then for each of them, you can click on it and see a detailed view. Like I said, you can go all the way to the top of the screen, which is pretty slick, in my opinion. Get all your data from Airtable. What else can I show? Okay, so you can add. So here I'm going to add an item. I'm going to call it my new item. It's going to be Europe or whatever. It's from Cambridge, Massachusetts. That's why I already pre-filled like a picture and some text just to make my testing easier, but you'll obviously use yours.
Oh, we lost George. He must have gotten George's back. Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. We lost you for a second.
Okay, here I'm back. I think it's when I was just gonna talk about one small limitation of Draftbit. So I think someone cut the code. It's like, no, don't mention it.
No, don't do it. That was actually me. I did that. George, can you toggle the can you change the browser frame to a mobile aspect ratio so that you can see like this page is responsive when you preview it on a desktop? It's that's weird.
No, that worked.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it took a sec to. So like that's kind of medium size. So you still get a nice iPhone view. And that's kind of like your more like mobile stuff. That's your app right there. So you do the exact same thing. It's just layout.
And so if you open that URL on your mobile device, and maybe George, can you copy and paste that URL into the private chat here, and I'll share it via the comments. If you open that URL on your personal device, you have a fully installable PWA, right? It's a real mobile PWA, and so if George makes updates to that app, those updates automatically update if you have that app installed on your device, like a regular PWA does.
Yeah, I just click the link here, and that that's the PWA that I just got right now, so I can interact with it. Again, it's really good to like that could be your app. You can also it's really good to like share with people you're working with or anything like that. Yeah, good addition. So very quickly, I was just demonstrating the adding something. So I've all my fields here. I add it, and one small thing is that I do have to refresh now. We're working on something that kind of auto refresh as you add the item. Right now, I still have to kind of refresh my screen to see it. But as you can see, here it is, Cambridge, Massachusetts. That's the one I just added. Those are real shoes, and not the most comfortable, but they're pretty good looking shoes. And that's it. So we were able to add something. Oh, we have the same thing. You can remove something. We have the exact same issues. Just talk about it. You need to refresh. We're working on that, so that won't stay an issue for very long. What else? Oh yeah. Well, you can create an account, and I'm just gonna do hours at draftbit.com. And I'm going to make a couple of mistakes just to illustrate. That's kind of cool. A lot of people ask, like, they want to handle errors the right way. So this is an example. That's the error we get from Firebase. And in Draftbit, it's just a matter of like, have this little error text component. And in it, I just display that variable I was talking about earlier. When I did a sign up, when there were an error, I put the error message in that variable. So now I can just access that variable and put it there. So when there's something in there, it'll show. When there's nothing, it'll just be empty, which is exactly what we want. And while I'm here, I'll just mention, we do have a couple of, we have two types of variables available, which is really cool. The first one is what you will kind of expect from maybe environment variables, like your API token. Everything is going to kind of stay with your app, like little secrets you want to save with your app. Just realized I probably should not have shared that for so long. Anyway, the second type of variable, this is essentially async storage. So this variable is going to stay on your user's phone, or I shouldn't be more specific. They're both still on user phone, but this one is going to be specific to your user's phone. So they can change it and then close the app, come back the next day, and that variable is still going to be set to whatever that user has it set. Which as you can imagine, that's how we essentially achieve authentication. You save a user token in that device variable, and then when they come back, you just reuse that token for your queries. So it's a little bit technical, but that was the foundation of us being able to build authentication. So those are two types of variables.
Hey, George, I'm going to interrupt with one of the questions that I've been saving because I think potentially this is a good time to talk about device variables. Mark from Montreal asks, can we support multilingual? And I would think like one way to do that might be to have the user kind of select in their onboarding which language they want the app to be in, and maybe you could just have all your like queries have the language in the extension or in the URL. So you're returning the English version or the French version as an example of the data from the server. Is that a way to do it?
Yeah, that's actually, it would have taken me a few minutes to come with that. Yeah, I think it's a great suggestion. Yep, save the language in a device variable, so specific to that user, and use that when you do requests on your backend. So that will cover multilingual for your data. If you want to do multilingual for the rest of your UI elements,
you probably need to have different screens, I would imagine.
Yeah, you can do multiple screen. We have this, maybe I can demo. We have this cool new little feature that first it's not that little, but I didn't work on it, so it's cool that it's here if you have any question. So we have what we call conditional display. So for example, like here's like a text component, something basic. And I can say only show that text component if a specific variable exists or does not exist, if it evaluate to true or evaluate to false. So it might, long term, it might be a good amount of work, but that would be one way. Like if you have, if I see that variable like is French is set, show me that text component. If it's not, show me the English version of it. So that's one way you could also approach for the non-data, non-dynamic stuff on your screen. Yeah,
that's a great idea. I love that. Mark, let us know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, actually, so while we're talking about languages, when I started Le Puce, which is a French app, first of all, the whole UI, as you can see, is in French. So there's obviously no limitation there, no like accent issue, anything like that. I started off by putting every name, names in the builder, like the name of the component and all that, in French and with like accents and all that. And I would not recommend doing it. I think it's doable, you can, but then later on, you run into some tricky situation where we use the name of those components in the code that we generate, and generated code like accent don't really mix very well all the time. So I don't recommend using any kind of special characters in the name of the component itself. But that's just one little recommendation I would have for you. All right, I think that covers it. Where was I? So I lost my train. So you were able to create an account. Oh yeah, an error message. So yeah, that's it. You can see that. Same thing for like, your password is not long enough. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Creating an account, and that's it. Now I'm connected. I got a little like debug info just for myself. So that's the user ID I got back from Firebase WS. And then if I look at my Firebase, I can see, office hours, WS, whatever the token is. So that worked. I was able to create an account, and then I can log out. Log out is the exact same thing. So I don't need to spend more time. But like here, I got a little like log out. Actually, maybe I can. That's interesting. I can. I'm using the conditional display thing I was just talking about to either show or not show that logout button in that kind of authentication screen here. So if you're logged out, so if the logged out variable is true, show me, create account and log in. If it's not, if I'm logged out, so if the user ID exists, which means if I'm logged in, sorry, I got it reversed. Then show me log out. I hope that makes sense for everybody, but that's, that's a state essentially. So I'm using it here. Let me go back. Oh, sorry, I'm losing myself in those tabs. So now I'm connected. I can log out. I can reconnect with that exact same, and that should work. So this is essentially how to do authentication with Firebase. Like I said, we had like a few videos on how to do that, and tutorial and a guide. Aman, team wrote a guide to do that, so you should have some resources. All right, I think that covers it. A couple of things I did not do for lack of time is, when you add something, I wanted to do like a camera roll, like you can pick from your phone. That would be cool. I didn't do favorite. So when you use that little icon, I didn't have time to do that. But assuming you can do those things, you got a real app on Draftbit.
Yeah, and just to kind of drive that last point home, so we do have a tutorial in the community right now for how to create like an add to favorite or a like button. So you can do that in Draftbit today. It requires some custom code, but you can do that. And then also adding photos from the camera. We also have custom code tutorials for that. And we've also done that in previous office hours. So basically, honestly, I think the only thing that you can't do on the Labousse app right now is we don't have the refetch, which is like coming very soon, right?
Yeah.
So that handles like when you submit a new item, the list refreshes, which seems trivial, but just requires a little bit of work on our end to enable. So once you had add to favorite, camera, and refetch, everything else in this app works. If you wanted to put this app in the App Store, nothing's stopping you, I think, once you have those things.
100%. So it was definitely limitation of time and not function and not capabilities from the Draftbit side. On that last note, though, just to mention, so the original app was made using Bubble, but Bubble doesn't quite let you do native apps. So what they did is that they used Bubble, and then they used a plugin, BDK plugin, to turn that into an app. And then, I mean, I don't mean to speak in behalf of the person who did that, but then you don't get a lot of flexibility with that, right? You just get your package and you kind of limit it there. The way once I do those couple of things that are missing that we just discussed, the way you will go forward with that app, a couple of ways. First of all, reach out to us. We have, if you're ready for the App Store, we want to talk to you. We have guides, tutorial. We're also happy to like figure out how to help you get all the way. So reach out. There's a little call to action here to release to the App Store. To do that, if you're comfortable with releasing to App Store yourself, you can just export your code. So I don't know if anybody knows that, but like one key differentiator of Draftbit is that we give you access to the code that's been generated. So at any given time when you do something, you can go live and see what the codes look like. So if for people who are familiar with React Native, this is awesome. You can see what's happening under the hood. Nick mentioned that a little bit at the beginning, just copy paste something and use it in your app, like whatever. We want to make you successful. So if it means you take a little bit of code and go somewhere else, that's fine. If anything, it speaks to the quality of the code that we try to produce, like high quality code. We have very talented engineers, and Alan is one of them on the live stream right now. So like the code that's being produced, we take pride of it. So feel free to use it. You can export the entire app. And that's probably going to go to different windows, so you may not see it, but you'll get your entire project. You can do whatever you want with it, package it, submit it to the stores. So those are kind of a few of the next steps you can take to release it. And I won't cover it. Oop, please.
I just want to chime in with something, putting on my marketing hat for a moment. Everything that George just showed you is available on the free version of Draftbit. Create the app, connect your APIs, all the preview modes, the mobile PWA, you get your own URL. Everything that George just showed you is available in the free plan. So it's totally other than investing your time, it's totally risk-free from a cost standpoint to actually build your app in Draftbit. The moment at which you want to do that last thing that George just showed you, which is to export the entire app, that is a feature that's restricted to our pro plans. And so the pitch to you all is you can build an entire app in Draftbit before you ever have to put your credit card anywhere. Once you're ready to publish it, then you need to pay for Draftbit. So if you're hesitating on what is Draftbit going to charge me to do all these amazing things with Firebase and Xano and create all these amazing screens, the answer to that question is zero.
Yep. That's.
I'm looking at the clock, George, and we have about 15 minutes left in the live stream. Should we, for all the Xano guys who have hung out and were patient, should we show them the other app and what you're doing with your other app?
Yes, absolutely. Let me close all that up. We're gonna move on. That was a little too long there. All right, there's this new app. This one is really cool because it's a very personal app. Like I didn't try to produce someone else's app. It's something I want for myself. So I do a lot of sous vide, just giving a little bit of context, and I wanted to kind of save. The long-term intent is be able to save the different settings, so the temperature and the time that I've been using for different, cooking sessions, and to learn from that. And like maybe this one was a little too much, and this one was not enough, and just to be able to do that. The first step of that project is to have essentially a feed of like pictures of my sous vide with those settings. So this is a steak I made at. This is the wrong data because I was playing with it with dummy data, but like, there would be a steak at 129 for like, I don't know, 45 minutes, something like that. But anyway, so this is completely new app. Let's see, it's a feed. You get a bigger picture than the app before. As you can already see, the image come from Xano. All the content come from Xano. So I'll show very quickly what it looks like on the backend side. So Xano is a backend of the service. I don't know if they will describe it differently, but let me just do the password quick. Here we go. So you put your data, many tables, and then it gives you an API to access those tables. So and there is a lot more to it, but I'm just going to cover kind of that database API workflow. So I got a few tables, one for my users, one for my posts, so that's just the feed, one for the type. So the type is going to be, one thing I didn't show. You know what? Let's start reverse this time. I'm going to show you the final product because that maybe it'll give you a bit more context. So this is what we're able to build in Draftbit using Xano as a backend in honestly a few hours. Obviously, I know the product pretty well, so it might take a normal non-Draftbit employee a little longer. But this is not like a month of work. This is like maybe a few days for just a regular no code. The difference, a very important difference between everything I'm going to show you from now on compared to the last one is there is not one single line of code that I had to write for this entire demo. This is completely no code. The other one, we saw you got to do a little bit of like custom code for the Firebase integration, but this is completely no code. So you got your feed. At the bottom here, you can see those are the types I was talking about. So I've decided, like as a product designer decision hat on, I guess I've made a decision to break it down per type. So you got everything, or just the beef, or just the poultry, or just the seafood, or just the veggies. And I haven't made those screen yet. I was actually hoping to do a little bit of that today. We might be rushed on time, but it's essentially going to be the same screen layout, except a subset of the content. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So this is it. So a couple of things you can do. You can log in, log out. I'll talk about that a little bit more. You can't add yet. I haven't done the add. That's something I'm still working on. And Xano gives you the ability to do it. It's just a matter of time. That's why I haven't done it yet. I started to do yesterday the like. So I'm gonna Let me show it here a little bit. So that's what the app looks like in the platform, in the builder. So, when I click preview, I see the same preview with my tab and everything. So the little, when I click the like, it actually did go through. You're going to have to trust me on this. Let me do it with, actually, you'll be able to tell I wasn't lying. The way I do work is I scan the code and put the phone right next to me. So I'm going to do that right now because it'll be easier to demonstrate the like behavior. So my app is loading. Let's see. I'm hoping you can see my screen. But all right. So I got my app. This is it. Exact same rendering. When I click like, I just clicked it. I got feedback. Those tabs are a little difficult to navigate. If I go back to my Xano, if things worked as I want them to work, I should have 3 entries. Yeah, so that last one is just me, George at Draftbit, who just liked the best steak ever. Now, I'm running into the exact same issue that we discussed in previous app, meaning I have to reload the app to refresh the feed. Like when I do an action, we don't refetch your data. So that little like button, even though it did go through, it's in Xano now, I have to refresh the app to see the result. But once you do see the result, for those who haven't seen, now you can see it's like a little red button. So I was able to also leverage that conditional display thing we talked about before. Like when a user liked it, when the authenticated user liked it, I'm going to show it in a different color than when I did not like it. So if I click on it again, I'm going to refresh that. And while I do that, we can look at the Xano to just make sure the thing went away. And now it's gone. And so during that time, everything reloaded on my phone. And now it's back to being white. So, essentially, you can do your like in complete, no custom code with this one caveat that we're working on the auto refresh that we don't do just yet. Okay, I'm going to use this time to plug one little more things about the likes. How to do that. So actually, I know this is not technically Draftbit, but I really want to give the guy Xano a shout out. So I was able to have an endpoint to get all my posts. That's pretty straightforward. But then I was able to run to tweak the output of that variable, of that endpoint. So not only I return what you would expect, the name, the title of the post, temperature, and all that, but I'm able to add on stuff to it. So in this example, because if you guys remember at the bottom, I'm showing my little face, and that's in a different table. It's in the user table. So I was able to add on to the response the kind of this user avatar image. And I don't return the entire user object because I don't care for it. I'm only just showing the image. So I was able to create a little add-on that is defined here and customize the response and just change the avatar. I won't do a Xano tutorial, but just know that that capability exists and it's really cool. And same thing for the number of likes. So the number of likes, that little one, is part of the main call. I'm not doing a separate fetch for this. It came from the main response. And that's because, again, Xano lets you add. I was able to do that count on the like. And I won't go into detail about how that works, but now it's there and it's being returned. So that was really awesome when I saw the control I can have over that response. Okay, so that was for the like. What else can I show you guys? Just a quick word to finish up on that like. So I do another fetch, not for the count, but to know if you as the authenticated user liked it or not, to know if I should show you the red version or the white version. So here's my fetch, and I have a fetch to this liked endpoint that is completely custom in Xano. So if you see here, I think it's the one that is like, I think that's this one. And so here I'm able to like do a few custom query, like, all right, first of all, return, give me all the likes that match this very post. So that goes back to the count. But in this case, I'm also checking that the user ID for that like is the same as the one that I've authenticated in Xano. So that Xano has an entire like authentication kind of layer around all of those calls, which let me do then like a literal drop down. I can just click auth and have access to the ID, and it's all done. So again, I won't do a tutorial about Xano. They actually have a lot of great videos, so go have a look at that. But this endpoint gave me the ability to know, is my authenticated user, is myself, did I like that post or not, or no? So you can even test it. And anyway, that's pretty cool. So that's how I do it. So this is my fetch, and if I liked it, sorry, I'm beginning a little like, I have to think about like which one is it, liked or not liked. So the button to like it, I want to show it when I did not like it yet. So if I did not like it, that's why I'm showing the not liked version, and that's going to be the white thing. And my action, that touchable, is going to be to like it. So that's why that touchable is called liked. And then I just call my like endpoint in Xano, and it works very well. Alternatively, if I did like something, then the interaction is going to be to unlike it. So that's why that little tap icon is to unlike. But the thing underneath that I'm showing the screen is the liked version. So the green, the red hot. All right, that's probably enough, and maybe a little confusing just to hear people, just to hear me talk about that. But just know that it exists. You can do all of that. This is pretty convenient. And then for the auth, okay, one last thing. In less than 5 minutes, just one word about the auth. I have actually everything set up to do sign up, log in, and those calls, they work. Like you can, you have to trust me on this because I don't have time, but like, you know, you can have your sign up screen, and it goes to the sign up endpoint of Xano, and I create a user. Same thing, you know, I was able to create a bunch of users, or two, my test user. The logging also work and all that. There's one caveat, is that in Draftbit, we're working on right now the ability to, when I receive the response from them sign up or login, to be able to save that auth token in a variable and to reuse that for future call. All that in custom, we can do it in custom code, but the ability to do that in the UI without any code, that's we're working on right now. Actually, Alan has been like doing a lot of like work over the last few days on that. So it's coming up soon, and that will give you the ability to save it in a variable. So what I do for now, for the demo, it cheated a little bit in the sense of like, I saved that token. I like put a default value with my token. So the demo right now is for my user, but as soon as I have a way to update that variable, I'll be able to reuse everything I've done, let's sign up, log in, and just change that variable. And everything should work with a different user. All right. I think what I wanted to do is do all those on the screen and essentially just copy. Like, it's going to be a lot of duplicating. The reason I didn't do them is I realized they're going to be mostly the same. So what I will just do is that click that dot, 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 and duplicate my screen, and then just go and tweak the different endpoint or do a little adjustment instead of doing the same screen like 5 times. So that's, I don't think unfortunately we're gonna have time to do that today, but that's gonna be the next step. I'm gonna keep working on it. I'm gonna keep sharing my result with the community. And that's it. So that's all you can do right now with no custom code in Draftbit for a real use case using Xano as a backend. How's that?
That's awesome. If you have any questions for George, drop them in the chat. Live stream's almost over, so get them in now. George, what are your goals for this app? Are you going to keep it a personal app? Do you have aspirations to get it into the App Store? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do I'm going to do the couple of things I mentioned, like the variable and all that. And then I'm going to do add. That's the next thing on my list. So you can add a picture. And I'm going to do it with the, I want to do it with the camera roll. So you pick the picture in your camera roll and you update that. And then honestly, after that, oh, and duplicating all those like 5 screen, that should be pretty straightforward. After that, I got my MVP. I've got my application that you can use, people can use, they can sign up, they can add content. So I want to take that into the App Store as a first pass. And then, you know, I'll build on top of that. Like maybe later on, I want to do comments. One thing I forgot to mention, kind of a background inspiration for this app is what's going on in the Reddit, the subreddit, like r/sous-vide, which is pretty active, and it's a bunch of people like sharing their pictures and the comments and all. And it's a pretty good community. I really enjoyed it so far. So I want to essentially try to replicate some of that. You know, maybe let people comment for each post. Yeah. Oh, and after that's going to be the next step. After that, there is also what I really want to do. What I really want to do, which was my long-term goal, is to be able to look at all the settings from the community, like the temperature and the time, and try to give you kind of statistic, like the average. So most people who are doing a steak that thick use the 129 Fahrenheit temperature. So you can see a little bit of like how the community, what are the guidelines from the community? Because if you sous vide, you always have people who share slightly different guideline. I do it at that temperature, I do it at this. So try to understand like a community guideline. Anyway, that's it's a little bit more long term, but.
That's awesome. We did have a question. This is more a question for the Xano guys, but maybe you know the answer to it. So when you were demoing handling the like counts and authenticated users, William asked, is this feature similar to Firebase cloud functions but with no code? How would you answer that? Maybe the Xano guys, if you're still here, you could also drop your response in the comments on YouTube.
To be frank, I don't know enough about the cloud function of Firebase, so I don't exactly know how it compares. My intuition would be that it's somehow similar. There's a bunch of stuff that I haven't explored in Xano. Like what I present is probably just like, I don't know, 20% of what they do. They do a lot more. So they have those functions that I haven't really used. As you can see, I haven't done any. I've done some add-ons. Those are the one I mentioned when you like extend the response from your API. So I've done that. Function I haven't touched. So I don't, on both sides, I don't exactly know, but I would assume it's slightly similar.
Oh, what's up, Sean from Xano? Sean said, it does let you do custom functionality, but it wouldn't be considered a cloud function. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you.
Sean.
We're going to be doing some more content with the Xano folks. So if there's anything that you want to see done with Xano, drop either us or them a line, and we'll try to get that done. Cool. So I think we're at time here. I want to thank George, and actually I want to encourage everyone who's still watching to please thank George. These are 2 super cool apps that a lot of work went into them, and it's really exciting to see, you know, the power of Draftbit. So thanks, George. Really appreciate you taking the time this morning to show these apps. And yeah, definitely thank George in the comments. Also, if you are so inclined, please give Draftbit and George a shout out on social media. Tell your friends about Draftbit. You know, some really exciting stuff going on, and we always appreciate the mention. So that's it from us, and we will catch you next week. Thanks everyone for watching.
Thanks, George. Thanks, Nick. And thanks everybody who watched.
Thank you all. Bye for